sliding into the weekend. The number that you can call this evening is toll-free, 603-835-3224. Again, the number is 603-835-3224, and that is a toll-free number. Just in case you weren't exactly sure. Just in case you weren't sure. I just want to make sure that you're sure that the number is toll-free. Toll-free means, well, it can't be completely free because you have got to expend a minute amount of energy in order to dial the numbers or punch or input the numbers into your telephony device. Which means in order to expend that energy, that means you have to, eat, most likely. So you'll have to buy the food. Because I'm not buying you food. So you have to buy the food in order to give your body the energy to be able to input those digits into your telephony device to give me a call. So it's not completely free, but it's free of tolls on the call. It's included with whatever phone plan you already have. So, well, I guess that's not free either because you still got to pay for the phone. Are there? Well, yeah, I guess you could. There are some free phone that you could use. Google Voice or something, I think, is free. So, but in any case, it would not be totally free because you've got to eat in order to give your body energy in order to to input those digits into your telephony device. But there is no charge from a telephony company, extra charge to make that call. Just so you know. You got to kind of use that disclaimer stuff because sometimes people will try to catch you and say, yeah, it's not totally free, man. I had to go out and buy a hamburger, and that hamburger cost me $2. Just saying. And you shouldn't probably eat. Yesterday, I actually had some liberal nut job tell me that I shouldn't go to fast food restaurants. I don't eat at them a lot anyway, but I shouldn't go to places, like, what we typically call a fast food restaurant, McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's, Taco Bell, that type of thing. And the reason is because they were bad for the environment and contributed to global warming. I kid you not. So I asked this person, I said, are you a PETA member, meaning are you a vegetarian? And he said no, he liked meat, but he refused to go out to eat to these fast food places because they're so bad and horrible for the environment. And I was trying to pin him down and said, well, how exactly are they bad for the environment? Is it because, they have to use energy in order to cook the food for you? I mean, you have to cook the food at home, but they do a lot of cooking, so they use less energy per person to make this food. And he just couldn't give me a real logical answer as to why fast food joints were bad for the environment and contributors to global warming. He probably heard it from some, it was a soundbite he heard someplace and just decided to believe it. And this kind of stuff happens all the time. Hey, Rod, you shouldn't eat at a fast food joint. Why? Because that's contributing to global warming. Well, if it weren't for health issues, because a lot of that fast food stuff, eating it all the time is really not healthy for your mind and body. However, if that were not the case, if it were absolutely, totally, and completely healthy for me, after having that short conversation, I'd go out to a fast food restaurant every single freaking day. But, well, there are no fast food vegetarian houses. You know what? Maybe that's another great business idea for somebody. And if you start such a thing, a fast food vegetarian restaurant, I want a 1% commission on every food sale that you have. Hey, if I give you people enough ideas, you just make me rich with royalties. I don't mind that. There's nothing wrong with that. It's my idea. If it doesn't already exist, it's because it's my idea. And, as the wonderful colloquialist and urbanist say, I gots to get paid. But there's, hey, look, I was told that it's a part of the wonderful global warming conspiracy out there. But speaking of global warming conspiracy, this is from the dailycaller.com. Climate scientists rip apart EPA's global warming rule. Now, I know I brought you some information about this yesterday, but here's some more information about this wonderful thing from the because yesterday I told you about how there was collusion between environmentalist groups, environmentalist wacko groups, and the government, like the EPA, government departments. The sue and settle type of scenario where these environmentalist wackos will instigate these lawsuits against various governmental departments that have sway and precedence over our environment in various aspects of our environment. So they would sue, and then instead of the EPA wanting to take it to court, because they've always wanted to do something like that anyway, they would meet with these environmentalist wacko groups and settle out of court of what hey, okay, we're going to have this kind of regulation, this regulation, this regulation. And the environmentalist wacko group says, okay, yeah, we'll accept that. And we'll drop the lawsuit. So it's a tactic that they call a sue and settle. And it was a tactic that they used quite often to get their agenda passed for the environment, and which is how we're getting a lot of this wacko environmentalist regulation. That makes absolutely no sense. But the Obama administration recently unveiled regulations further limiting carbon dioxide emissions from power plants. Now, some climate scientists are criticizing the rules for doing virtually nothing to reduce global temperature rises. The whole point of reducing CO2, well, they can't reduce temp. Look, there is no global warming. That's the problem. The Earth has either been in a cooling or holding pattern for the past 18 years or so. And so whatever we do, we're obviously not going to reduce the temperature any, because the temperature is already, the climate is much bigger than mankind. Now, let me explain something to you, Lucy. Here's the argument that they'll try to play on you, and I'm going to use a different scenario. Now, a while ago, last year, I had a conversation with a police officer. Now, he was a friend. He was a friend of a friend of he's a good friend of. A good friend of mine is who he was a friend of. We were at a barbecue, and I knew who he was. We've always been cordial. I wouldn't say we were friends, but we knew each other. We're cordial. We've been around each other before. And we were discussing military tactics for police. Now, and I understand this particular officer, was never in the military. So I did not believe that he fully understood military tactics being used on civilian populations. And I said, we were arguing about certain aspects of military style tactics of police, and sometimes that they go horribly wrong and they're dangerous, and that police should not have certain types of equipment all the time. And for some reason, we got on this point of body armor, and how he said, well, civilians shouldn't be allowed to have it. Only cops should have body armor, bulletproof vest. And I said, well, that doesn't make any sense. If you don't want the civilians, why should you have it? And he looked at me and said, well, if you don't want cops to have it, that means you want cops to get shot. Like, no, that's not what it means. Of course I don't want police officers to get shot. But I don't think, and it started to get my blood boiling, because I don't think cops should have bulletproof vests. And they should be using SWAT tactics like that. Military tactics and busting down people's doors. He goes, oh, so you'd rather have cops get shot. Like, how does that compute? Because I don't think you should do one thing. It automatically assumes that I want cops to get shot. Well, obviously, that was an inane argument on his part. But this is the same thing that the environmentalists use. Oh, if you don't want these regulations, on coal plants or other types of environmental regulations, that means you want dirty air and dirty water. No, I do not want dirty air and dirty water. I just don't want these stupid regulations that really aren't going to do a damn thing except raise everybody's prices on everything. Oh, you don't want the regulations? No. Well, then you want dirty air and dirty water. No. How does that equate me not wanting this particular stupid, useless regulation that isn't going to protect the environment at all? All it's going to do is raise prices for everything. How does that equate to me wanting dirty air and dirty water? I want clean air and clean water, but I want stuff, regulation and laws that actually work, that isn't going to cause the cost of living to go through the roof. Oh, well, that just means you just want dirty air and dirty water. Well, it's an inane argument that you cannot win because it's illogical from its premise. So for me, with a logical mind, it's not that I need to win the argument, but there is no way for me to win that argument because their premise is illogical to begin with. So this whole notion that, we got to have all these regulations, Rod, just in case. Just in case what? In case there's global warming. But there isn't any global warming over the past 18 years. So already your argument is a moot point. There is no basis for it. Well, we should have these regulations just in case things heat up again. What do you mean just in case? This is what they're saying. Well, just in case. Well, if that's the case, then if we're polluting right now and there is no global warming, well, that means man is not responsible for it. So having these ridiculous, overly expensive regulations is not going to do anything to alleviate a future potential problem of the earth heating up. And that's just one of the dumbest things that a person could ever come up with. But when you try to use logic with somebody who's using an inane argument who is illogical, you've already, pretty much lost. So you're just going to give yourself a headache, and you're going to need 3 Advil instead of 2. In which case, if you get pulled over at one of these so-called, DNA stops, they might say, well, you're over your limit, and bring out the handcuffs and arrest you for being under the influence of Advil. Don't doubt me. I'm telling you, folks, I know how liberals think. I know how government officials think when they want to create new law and regulations that control our lives. I know all that. Look, I'm too well versed and too experienced with these people. You gotta trust me on this. This is what they're looking for. And if you don't go along with their stupidity, then they're going to accuse you of wanting the worst. So if you don't want to go along with the idea that, that cops should be able to bust down anybody's door using SWAT and military tactics and in full body armor and using, cannons and machine guns and all that kind of stuff, if you don't want them to do that, that means you want cops to get shot. And if you don't want, over-regulation out there on the environmental side, well, that just means that you want dirty air and dirty water. And think of any argument that liberals are saying that we need to do something with, and they'll come up with the premise that if you don't want what they want, then that means that you want the bad stuff that they say they don't want. Don't doubt me on this, folks. That's how they operate.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. Then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible